afternoon, and welcome to CoreCube's webinar, The SEO Power of WordPress, that's presented today by our web manager, Will Chatham. Before I introduce Will, I'd like to welcome all of you all and also do just a couple of housekeeping chores. We have everyone on mute mode, which means that we can't hear you, nor can we hear any of the background noise in your offices. So what that allows is for a much better audience experience. So hopefully you all will bear with us as we keep you in mute mode throughout this, this webinar. If you do have a question, and we do encourage questions, then please access it on the right-hand side where you can actually ask a question, and I will see that, and I'm going to be monitoring this webinar. My name is Marilee Orsini, and I'm the Managing Director of CoreCube, and I will be monitoring today, so we will be certain to answer all of your questions. And now, without further ado, I am going to introduce Will Chatham. As I said, Will is our web manager here at CoreCube, and he heads up our web development team. And Will is one of those people that really is good on the internet and with technology, and he's been working directly on the internet and with technology since 1999. And one of my favorite quotes from Will is he says, if they were issuing a PhD in geek, then he would certainly have one. So he's a delight to work with. He's a wonderful addition to our CoreCube team. Has a very broad spectrum of skills, and it ranges from web design to system administration to information security. And he's really worked on all different types of projects, very small projects, very large projects in the nonprofit realm, in the corporate realm, small business to the federal government. So he really is a delight, and he is someone that I seek wise counsel from frequently as it relates to web design and systems and solving problems on the internet. And WordPress is one of his favorite things. So without further ado, let me introduce Will Chatham.
Thank you very much, Marilee, and good afternoon or late morning, whatever the case may be for you. I'm just going to dive right in here, but I want to say that if you do have any questions along the way, or if I get too technical and you don't understand what I'm saying, please don't hesitate to state your question in the chat box there, and I'll stop and try to explain things better. So this discussion is about WordPress, which is a state-of-the-art content management system. And a content management system is basically an application that is installed on your web server where your website lives. It's built upon a system of templates that are designed to look like your website. And a content management system makes it easy for you to be able to update the content on your website without having to know about HTML coding or some of the nuts and bolts of how to get things to and from a web server. It provides a page where you can log in and change the text on your site or create a new page, manage a blog, upload pictures, and some more really neat things that people like to be able to do themselves rather than having to turn to a web designer to do. And we're going to talk about that today. WordPress is also a tool for building a search engine friendly website. And what that means is that the code that WordPress generates automatically behind the scenes is designed in a way that's clean and makes it easy for search engines to find your site, to crawl through your site, as it's called, and to index the content that's on your site. There's not a lot of clutter that gets in the way of the search engine spiders when they visit your website. So it helps promote your website in the search engines better. It makes it more visible to them. And it is also a socially networked or a social networking tool in that it can integrate with your Twitter accounts, your Facebook accounts, and help get you more visible through all of those avenues. And I'll be discussing that a little bit more in depth as well. And finally, WordPress is open source software that has a large support base. And what open source software is generally it's free software that is supported by a community of people from all over the country, all over the world, in the case of WordPress, and people that contribute to it, help fix it, help make it better, all basically for the greater good. They're all in it together. It's a great way of developing software that can be pushed out for free to people. So what WordPress is not is software that you install on your computer. I've had people ask about that before. They didn't understand how to get it installed on their computer, but what you actually do is you install it on your web server where your website lives, and that is where it runs, and that's where you access it. And it's not something that you design a website with yourself. It's not like a web design tool software that you install on your PC or your Mac. And it's definitely not difficult to use once it has been set up on your web server. And hopefully you'll see more about that today as well. Okay, so the difference between a traditional HTML-based website and a WordPress website, the HTML sites are built typically on what's called a flat file. The pages are static in nature. It's a file full of code that you upload to your web server, and when you want to make changes, you download it to your computer, edit it, and then push it back up to your web server. And it just sits there and gets shown in people's web browsers when they visit your page. An HTML site generally can require a web designer or someone that's skilled in HTML or some web design software such as Dreamweaver to edit the pages. It can get kind of complex. It's easy to let the pages get bloated with some older HTML code that the search engines don't like, using tools such as Dreamweaver and FrontPage. So it also makes a website more difficult to manage as far as making site-wide changes. For example, if you had a new logo for your company and you had a 200-page website that you wanted to put that new logo on, depending on how things are set up, it can require that someone knowing some HTML goes in there and edits 200 pages to add your new logo to it. Whereas WordPress or most content management systems in general are database driven, and the content is dynamic, meaning that all of the text and whatnot gets stored inside of a database on your web server. And they run off of a template so that when a visitor visits your page, it loads up the template and then pulls all the content out of the database and displays it on the page. So once that's all set up, it makes it easier to update a template or update your website, because all you need to do in the case of the logo is update it on one template page, and that gets reflected on every page of your website. So basically a template or a theme allows the change to be made in one place and get rolled out site-wide in an instant. Okay. Even though WordPress does make managing content a lot easier once it's set up and installed, you still need someone that's knowledgeable in WordPress to either convert your existing site or build your new website in a WordPress format. You still need to make sure that your website is well designed and looks professional. It's easy for people to use, the information is organized, and that's definitely a huge factor in what people's perception of your company is on the web. On the internet, there are no second chances to get a second impression. The first thing people see when they visit your website is going to be how professional you are and how professional it appears. And not only is that important to your human visitors, but it is also important to the search engines when they get to your website, because a site that's well organized and easy to use is also easy for the search engines to crawl through and find the content of. So WordPress also has some ongoing updates that they roll out occasionally, and it's important to have someone that knows a little bit about it that can still help you when it's time to upgrade your version of WordPress or some of the plugins that WordPress uses as they become available. There are two sides to a WordPress site. There's the front end, which is what the visitors to your site see, and that's, as I mentioned, that's built on a template. And given the example here, the the header, which is where the logo, the Good Health Services logo is, the navigation menu, the right-hand sidebar where you see community education. Those are all parts of the template. So is the background color, all the colors on the page, the way that the text is styled and colored, that's all part of the template. So that no matter what page of the site you're on, that one template file is being used, and the content, welcome to Good Health Services, and the text below it is all being pulled out of the database. There's the back end of WordPress, which is where you go log in with a password. It's password protected. And that's where you would go to update the text on your pages, to do blog posts, and manage your WordPress site in general. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that in a few minutes. But let's see. Yeah, the template-driven design, a little bit more about that. You can get a web designer to create your WordPress theme. There are some free themes out there, but we usually recommend not using the free themes because you never know what the quality of those themes is going to be. Some of them are not coded very well. Some of them have advertisements on them. And in the case of doing a redesign or a conversion of your website, you're going to want someone that's knowledgeable in WordPress to convert your site over to use that same design anyway. The theme, once again, is used for all pages of the website. You design it once and you can reuse it infinitely. You still have the ability to make unique templates in case you have a few pages on your site that you want to be laid out a little bit differently, for example. And when you're in WordPress, you can choose which template style gets implemented per page if you want to. So, in other words, if your web page has a header, a sidebar, a main content area, and a footer, well, you may want another page that doesn't have a sidebar on it in case you have like a big map you want to display or a calendar or something like that. So you can define a separate template that has the same style as the rest of the website. It just does not have that sidebar. So it's very dynamic and versatile in what you can do with it, design-wise, when you're doing that from the beginning. And one of the coolest things about a content management system is that a new theme can be implemented without disturbing your website's content. So let's say that you have a WordPress site, and in 5 years you decide that you want to completely redesign your site, but you're worried about breaking links that people have posted online elsewhere to your pages, or you're worried about having to move vast amounts of text from old site to new site and that sort of thing. Well, with WordPress, you can design the template and just apply it, and the same links are preserved, the same content is preserved, the same navigation structure is preserved, but your website now has a completely new design. WordPress gives you more control. So once it's implemented and set up, you don't always have to go back to a web designer to do updates to your site. It makes it very easy for you to log in. If you're familiar with using Microsoft Word and creating bold text and list items and italicized text or adding a picture, then you'll be able to pick up WordPress very easily. You can add pictures and photo galleries. You can post PDF files or whatever kind of file you want to post for download. Embed videos in your pages. It makes it very easy to create a new page for your site that automatically inherits the template design that's been implemented. WordPress was originally was just a simple blogging tool, but has evolved into a full-fledged content management system over the years. So it still has a very powerful blog aspect to it, which is an area of your website where you can post frequent updates that get listed on a page in chronological order. Blogs often have the ability for your visitors to comment on them on your blog post if you want that to happen. And blogs basically give your website some currency, I guess is the word. They make sure that your website's up to date. The search engines say, hey, this website's being updated frequently. We should return here more often. So blog posts are a great way to promote that. And WordPress allows you to integrate with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and other social media outlets, both by linking to your other pages, linking your other pages into WordPress, and automatically being able to update your Facebook page if you update your WordPress site, and vice versa as well. If you post something to Twitter, you can have it show up on your WordPress site automatically. So there are a lot of ways to integrate social media tools with your site. One of the coolest things about WordPress, in my opinion, is the plugin library that exists. And plugins are small pieces of code that you can download and add into your WordPress website. Most of them are free. At last count, there were over 11,000 free plugins in the WordPress plugin repository. And they offer a vast array of different capabilities that you can add to your website. Some of them can help make search engine optimization enhancements, give you a finer amount of detail on keyword management, optimizing your pages, and making your site search engine friendly, and providing data about when the search engines are crawling your site and how people are finding your site. There are a lot of great plugins that integrate with Google tools such as Google Analytics and AdWords, Google Maps, calendars, Google Docs, all the Google stuff you can integrate with your WordPress website. Again, there's the social networking integration, some great plugins to do that. You can have a newsletter sign up on your site if you're using Constant Contact or Campaign Monitor or some other system to manage contacts and potential clients. You can integrate that into your website. So you're capturing people's information, and hopefully they'll sign up for your newsletter, and then you can keep in touch with them that way. And when they fill that form out on your site for the newsletter, it automatically gets sent to Constant Contact or Campaign Monitor or whatever, and they're automatically logged in your system. You can create forms for your website. Let's say you have an employment application form you want to set up. You can do that. WordPress can email that to you when someone fills it out through various plugins, or it can or it can save it online so that you can refer to it later, and more than one person in your company can access it and look at it. Again, you can get plugins that show you a lot of details about your visitors, how they're finding you, what keywords they're using to search for you, which search engines they're coming from, what other websites are linking to your website. Lots of neat stuff about lots of neat stuff along those lines. And again, there are thousands of plugins out there. They're developed, more and more come out every day, and almost all of them are free. And the ones that are not free tend to be pretty inexpensive. So again, about blogging. Blogging is a very important thing that helps give relevancy to your website, not only for your human visitors, but again for the search engines. If you're posting blog updates to your site, once a week, 2 or 3 times a week, even just once every couple of weeks, then that indicates to the search engines that they need to come back more often and crawl your website. And when that happens, it's more likely that your website is going to be seen as an authority for the topic that your company is about. So that, in turn, will help boost your positioning in the search engines when people are searching for whatever service or product you provide. So when you post a blog update, WordPress is set up so that it does what's called pinging, a blog pinging service. And basically that says it's a signal that WordPress sends out and says, hey, there's a new update here, come check it out. And those blog pinging services kind of are an automatic thing that gets reflected throughout the internet and based on keywords that are in your blog, based on tags that you've tagged your blog with. And a blog is kind of a separate area of your website from your main pages, and in that it's more dynamic. The blog posts show up chronologically on your page, the most recent ones at the top, and it's going to be the page of your site that probably gets updated the most. And as far as tagging goes, what that refers to is when you create a blog post, let's say it's about oak trees, for example. Well, you can write a blog post about oak trees and talk about how to plant one, how to take care of it, and whatnot. And then within WordPress, there's a system where you can create tags for that post. So you would want to create a tag such as trees, oak trees, plants, gardening, that sort of thing. And when you post that blog post, when you publish it on your site, the associated tag words get sent out to the pinging services, which can be reflected in social bookmarking sites such as Delicious. It also allows your visitors to come and do a search for a tag. Let's say they're coming to your site and they're interested in oak trees. Well, if they search your site for oak trees, then all of your blog posts related to oak trees that have been tagged with that term will be pulled up. So it helps associate your content with keywords, which is, again, a very good thing for search engine optimization. The blog comment system encourages participation and discussion from your website visitors. That can be disabled very easily if that's something that you're not interested in providing the people that visit your website. The WordPress blog is also set up with an automatic RSS feed, which allows people to subscribe to your blog through any kind of RSS reader, be it on their iPad or through Google Reader or any RSS reader that's on their mobile phone. So anytime you update your site, your RSS feed gets updated as well, and those people will see that update. And all of these encourage inbound links to your website, which is the #1 thing that Google likes to see. It likes to know that other people think your site is valuable, and that will in turn make Google think that your site is valuable. So encouraging inbound links is definitely a plus, and all of these things help do that. Okay. So WordPress, again, the optimized code that I was referring to earlier, WordPress generates code behind the scenes that is very clean, it's very easy to navigate for the search engines. And there's an example on your screen here. The HTML navigation for a navigation menu generated by Dreamweaver. As you can see, it's very complex looking. There's a lot of stuff in there. It's hard to see what you're actually looking at. Whereas the same navigation generated in WordPress down below is a lot simpler. It's an unordered list, and you can see the links in plain text there: services, private duty, retirement communities. And the search engine spiders are much more likely to find those links and follow them than they would be with the example above. So it's important to have that clean code behind the scenes going on so that your site is more easily indexed in Google and the other search engines. And the importance of a well-designed coded theme also helps with that. Again, some of the themes you find out there for free tend to not take advantage of clean, optimized code, even though WordPress will try to correct it when possible, but it's best if you have someone that designs your theme that is competent in that area. Another aspect of this is the mobile web, which is obviously becoming more and more important every day as people are carrying the internet around in their pockets with them now, on their mobile phones, their iPads, their laptops. We're taking the internet with us everywhere we go these days. So it is important that people can visit your site on these devices and be able to access your information just as easily as if they were sitting in front of their computer at home. So WordPress offers plugins that do this for you very easily, and it's pretty cool how it happens. So what we're looking at here is a WordPress designed site on a desktop web browser, and then the exact same site as seen on an iPhone. And as you can see, the content is reformatted to be very easy to read on the iPhone in the picture at the bottom. WordPress also has the ability to allow you to update your site from your iPhone. There's an iPhone app for it that's free. You can even send email to your WordPress website, and it'll automatically publish the content of your email if that's what something you're interested in doing. Something else WordPress can do is manage users. So it has a multi-level password-protected user system in that you can assign different roles to different users of your website. So, for example, if you had several employees in your company that you wanted to give access to make updates to your website, but you didn't want them to be able to have complete administrative control over everything, You can assign them a limited role that only allows them to do certain things, such as publish to certain pages or submit articles, and then they don't go live until you review them and allow them, and that sort of thing. It's very robust, and it can also allow you to provide visitors to your website account access so that they can get access to premium content or stuff that you don't want just the general public to see, only certain registered users. Perhaps you've charged them money to subscribe, or perhaps it's just some business associates you want to access certain content. It has that capability. And password-protected pages. So for example, recently I set up a password-protected area of a WordPress site for one of our clients who had some training videos that she wanted to post in a central location for her employees to watch, but didn't want the general public to see them and didn't want them to be part of her main website. Well, I set up a page that had a password, and she was able to easily upload those videos and update them whenever she wants to and post training material, and then give her employees the passwords so that they can access that stuff without anyone else knowing it's even there. And there are many more capabilities of WordPress. A lot of these have to do with plugins that you add in, but you can do e-commerce. You can sell products on your WordPress site, both products that you ship to people and digital downloads. You can set up discussion forums, job boards, classified ads, knowledge bases or wikis. You can create portfolio sites if you're an artist or a musician or freelancers. And WordPress also has a multi-site capability in the most recent version of WordPress. And what that means is you can have one main WordPress website and then build separate websites, complete separate WordPress installations that can all be managed from your one main website. So if your company has the need for several different websites, you can manage them all from one place and make updates to them. Okay, so a little bit about what you see on WordPress when you log in to the administrative area. You come to the dashboard page, which kind of gives you an overview of how many pages you have, if people have been posting comments, some other tools you can add here, show you your recent visitors, your most popular pages, that sort of thing. This is just kind of an overview of what's going on. Okay. One of the primary areas you'd be interested in is the pages section, which is where you'll actually go to update and add pages to your website. And what you see here is kind of a hierarchical menu. About Us is a main page, and then under About Us you have Our Team and Testimonials from Clients. So those would be subpages of About Us, and you can see that it's presented in a hierarchical method here. And under Job Openings, that's what you would see if you were hovering over that with your mouse. And you get the options to edit the page, do a quick edit, which is just to change some basic settings on it. You can delete it, or you can look at it. A little bit more about the deleting of pages. One of the cool things about WordPress is if you do delete something, it preserves several iterations of a page. So you can roll back to something, you can undelete it. If you accidentally add something you didn't want there, you can go back to a previous version of the page, which is a very nice thing to have sometimes. And when you actually go in to edit a page, this is what you see. You can create the title for the page. Underneath that is the permalink, which is what the actual URL to that specific page would be. And WordPress will automatically generate nice search engine friendly permalinks here that have the keywords of the title inserted in the URL there, and you can change that if you want to. Down below you have the editing screen where you would add or edit the content on the page, adding pictures and whatnot. Over on the right you can preview your changes. You can set a page to be published or unpublished or hidden. You can even set a page to be published in the future. So if you had a press release that you'd already written that you wanted to come out next Monday, for example, you could set next Monday's date in there and hit save, and that page will automatically appear on your website at the date and time that you've set. And again, this is the page attributes is where you'd specify the parent page and what template your page is using and whatnot. This is a close-up view of the actual editor, which so a lot of these controls are probably familiar to you. The bold text, italicized text, strike-throughs, bulleted lists, numbered lists, and some really cool things here. This is where you'd create links to your, if you wanted some words to be linked to another website or another web page, that's where you'd do that. The upload insert area at the top is where you can upload images, movies, audio, or anything that is already in your media library. And I think the next slide is about that. Yeah, once you've already uploaded any kind of files or images or videos or anything like that to your WordPress site, it's stored in the media library, which is where you can go to see things you've already uploaded, insert them into other pages of your site, or delete them. Makes it very easy to add files from your computer, add files from another website, and even build a photo gallery out of multiple photos you've uploaded. Okay. There are other content management systems. Some are better than others, for sure. We use WordPress a lot, and we use Expression Engine a lot here at CoreCube. Those are two very capable, powerful content management systems. Some others that you may have heard of are Joomla and Drupal, .NET Nuke, some other things like that. And in some cases, one of those content management systems may be better for your site. If you have, for example, a very customized database application or something that you want to integrate with your website, well, you might find that Expression Engine can handle that better. But WordPress in general can be a very powerful tool in many situations. So that's definitely the first place to look if you're looking at implementing a content management system for your website. Some of the other content management systems can take a lot longer to develop in. It's not as easy to build templates in them. It's not as easy to update them. They don't have large plugin repositories like WordPress does. They're more niche oriented, and it's harder to find people to develop for those applications or for those systems and to maintain them. So once you have WordPress up and running, there is a lot of help out there in case you run across something you're unfamiliar with or you don't know how to do. WordPress has a great built-in help system that kind of shows up on the screen based on what page you're on. If you need help, you click the help link and it'll appear right there. WordPress.org, which is where that's WordPress's main parent homepage, has a very large knowledge base there with tutorials and videos and forums and wikis and whatnot. In general, you can search Google if you ever have a WordPress problem. It's very likely that the question has already been answered somewhere, and Google comes in handy with that. There are a lot of WordPress books out there, and we here at CoreCube have a lot of WordPress experience on staff, and we'd be happy to help you with that as well. So the nuts and bolts of WordPress, what it requires to run on your web server is a web hosting account, preferably on a Linux system that has the PHP language support and the MySQL database support. You can generally get a decent web host with all of those things for about $10 a month if you're not using vast amounts of email and whatnot through the system, or need a lot of file storage or something like that. But the hosting accounts generally start at $10 a month and go upwards from there. Again, you'll need someone that's skilled in designing WordPress if you're wanting to create or customize a theme or convert your existing website over to WordPress. And that person will also need to install WordPress on your server for you. Sometimes web hosts will offer to do that. They'll say, oh, well, we have a one-click WordPress install, but we recommend not to do that because a lot of times those versions of WordPress have been limited in some way, or they're branded to have the web host's logo at the bottom of them, and sometimes they're not the most up-to-date versions of WordPress. So in summary, WordPress is a great way to bring life to your website. If it's been sitting there for a while, if you're ready to do something new, this would definitely be a good thing to think about. Because it brings relevancy to your site, it makes your site appear more fresh, it helps promote it in the search engines, and will hopefully start driving more traffic to your site. And we are happy to help do that if any of this is interesting to you. We can do everything from the installation and the setup to the converting your current site or building a new site from scratch in WordPress. We do a lot of search engine optimization from the beginning, and we can also help you out with ongoing search engine optimization efforts and providing monthly services, metrics, and reports on your statistics, and then recommending what kind of tweaks to make to your website so that it does even better in the search engines. We can provide the maintenance and the support for WordPress and update it as plugins get updated and as the WordPress system itself gets updated. So we can help out in all of those aspects. And go ahead.
I was going to say thank you, Will. I think
oh, sure.
Unless you had something burning to say.
No, I think that about covers it.
Thank you so much. It's discovering WordPress, using WordPress, experiencing it has been a pleasure for me, and it's also been a pleasure to watch our clients convert some of their sites into WordPress, because it really, as Will said, is very easy to use once you have it installed, and it is also, we're seeing really good results from SEO from our clients that have converted to WordPress. So, you know, I've had a few questions throughout that I have answered that really had not much to do with what you were talking about. So,
okay.
And I don't have any further questions. So if anyone has a question, please go ahead and enter it in while we have Will on the phone. And here's a testimonial from one of our current clients that said she converted her site recently and is very glad that she did. So we're very glad you did too, Kim. So thank you for being a client, and thank you for that great testimonial. For those of you who are, here's another question. Can you discuss cost any further, or is it a case-by-case basis? You know, I think we can do some. It is a case-by-case basis, but Will, this is from a current client we talked about actually this morning, from using that third-party system, and she's asked. So you're familiar with that site, so I don't know if you could talk about converting that site or not. Just the general cost, I think, for conversion, or do you want to take a case by not give a general and have deal with her directly?
If it's the site I think we're talking about, that site has a monthly subscription. This would definitely not have a monthly subscription to it. Once you convert your site to WordPress, you know, it's up to you or it's not up to you. Let me rephrase that. It's easy for you to update and to stay relevant in the search engines, and we can help, you know, add to that certainly. And I think from looking at the costs of that third-party system, I think it would definitely be cost-effective to get into WordPress.
Yes, because as Will said, the hosting is going to be a whole lot less, and also this particular client's using one of our other services here, our Marketing Solutions for Home Care, Most program, and we do a lot of the things through that program that are similar to what this third-party service does, only better, I would say. Okay, now I've got a question here. Would you agree, Will?
I think so, yes, absolutely.
Here's a question. How much creative control over actual site design is there within WordPress? I can answer that one. WordPress is a content management system, not a design management system. So you have control in the beginning about how the actual site is designed and the template is set up, but after it's designed and set up, your editing capability is really for the content, not for the design. Is that correct, Will?
Yes, I would say that, but I'd also say that there are very few restrictions as far as when you initially design the site, what you can do. It can look like pretty much anything you want it to. It used to be true that you were limited to a very typical header, sidebar, content, footer type website. But these days, WordPress is so flexible now with its themes and templates that you can create anything, you know, design it how you want it, and then put it into WordPress.
The next question is: are there any good Core Cubed WordPress site examples. And I can say that my favorite WordPress site example that Will has done and that Core Cubed has done is HomeTrack, HOMETRAK.com. That's my very favorite. And Will, are there others that you would like to mention?
I think we just posted a couple new ones on the Core Cubed portfolio site. So you can go to corecubed.com and look at our portfolio there and click on the WordPress sites for a couple more examples.
Right, and we've got some incredible sites that are almost ready to go live that are, and one of them was one that Will showed in this webinar that is almost live and absolutely, I think, stretch the boundaries in terms of design capabilities for WordPress, and I'm quite proud of him for doing that. So,
yeah, I can't wait for that one to go live either.
Yeah. So I would say hopefully in another week we'd hope to have it live by today, but we're continuing to tweak it, so that hasn't happened. Okay, that is the end of the questions. Well, once again, you've been fabulous.
Thank you.
I have everything on my computer closed except for this presentation. Do you happen to have the date of our next webinar handy so that I can tell folks that? If you don't, we'll tell them they'll have to check back later.
I know it's on a Monday. That's all I know.
We have our next webinar, and we'll keep you in suspense as to the time and day. Is in November. Actually, I think it's the for some reason I think it's the 30th of November on a Monday, and it is with Will Chatham again, our web manager, and Tammy Brown, who is our creative director of Core Cubed, and they are going to go over some of the Google Webmaster tools and the Google Analytic tools and also Google Local. So a pretty in-depth look at search engine optimization, organic search engine optimization, which is one of the things that we excel in. And it should be a very good webinar. So keep your eyes tuned to sign up for that. And thank you so much for your attendance. We certainly appreciate it. And since there are no further questions, everyone have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Bye.
Bye.